Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. And April, if you can just advance to that next slide, that would be fantastic. So my name is Patrick Dunlap. I'm responsible for TTS North America, sales and operations, headquartered in New York. I'm personally in Dallas, Texas, so if any of you are in the south with me and suffering through this lovely heat, I think you guys understand what we're dealing with right now. And with me is April Favara, who is joining us from iLearnERP. What we're going to talk about today is a customer success story, all right? And the genesis for this particular story is related to UPK. It's also related to upgrade of ERP system, which in this case is JD Edwards. And I think a lot of people are in the same situation, whether it's focused just on, hey, I've got a large enterprise application that I need to upgrade, and I've got a large number of end users who need to be made aware of the changes in the system, the changes in our navigation, changes in business processes, or even policies and procedures. So how do we document all of that critical business information, get that out to our user community as quickly as possible? With Oshkosh, it was a little bit of a different situation in that not only were they looking at upgrading, their ERP, but they were also, looking at a replacement for their user productivity kit tool that they had in place. As many of you know, UPK is going to be sunsetted, and the final support, it is sunsetted, but the final support expires in December 2022. All right, so some organizations are kind of waiting until 2022 to decide what to do next. I think some other organizations are being a bit more proactive and really trying to look at solutions. They're looking at, they might be using the 12.1 version of UPK, which has been around for 6.5 years without any new development. So they're really kind of considering what's new and available in the marketplace. So Oshkosh contacted us about a year ago, and we went through quite a bit of background and evaluation and technical evaluation before we were selected, and we had an opportunity to work with iLearnERP as a result, and put together this webinar. So if you could go to the next slide, April. So a little bit about us as an organization. So TTS is, maybe some of you have guessed, is actually a German company. So we're headquartered in Heidelberg, Germany. That's where Julie is right now at the end of her day. We are a global organization really focused on 3 primary lines of business: talent management consulting, our product, which is the TT Performance Suite, which you'll see in a bit more detail today, as well as our corporate learning organization. In North America, we focus primarily on our product. In Europe, you may know us across those different lines of business. In North America, you know us from specifically the product that we provide. The result is that we have a partnering relationship with top tier consultants who can provide the initial instruction, can provide the support, the guidance, the strategy around how to use a tool like ours. And that's where partnering with iLearnERP has really become a great advantage for us as we're working on this project as well as others. The next slide, if you don't mind. So we've been in business as an organization for over 20 years. We've got about 5 million users, greater than 5 million users of our technology around the world. We're quite pleased with the organizations who've selected us as their vendor of choice as they're looking at replacements for things like the UPK product. In the organizations like the City of New York, which is a huge PeopleSoft user, LSC Communications, which has 10,000 Oracle ERP users, and other companies like FedEx and Amazon and Boeing who utilize our technology across their full enterprise. So I will hand over to April at this point and let her introduce herself, her organization, and talk to you about Oshkosh and the specific project that they did.
Hi there. I'm just going to say hi on my webcam one more time before I actually switch it off for the rest of the presentation. I am a training consultant at iLearn ERP. iLearn ERP, we're a boutique company. We provide adoption solutions in primarily the Oracle application space. We also have worked with SAP and other applications and a variety of solutions. With over 15 years of training experience, we strive to be the people part of your technology solution in the training industry. Just some of the things we can assist with are up there. Planning and executing training initiatives throughout the full life cycle of business transformation. We also offer e-learning design and content build, and we blend live training with video recordings, webinar sessions, things like exercises and documentation for complete solutions. Our cloud adoption services include Oracle applications training along with change in communication services. We also offer a full service cloud learning management system to create and host and deliver training. So kind of a learning hub solution there that's fully customizable. And then of course, why we're here, we have a long history using UPK as a training tool and with other employee performance support platforms just like TTS. So that's also where our expertise is. We're probably most known, at least in the Oracle JD Edwards space, for our online universities. So we have 3 online training universities. The E1 Academy has over 30 modules and 900 courses on the applications of Enterprise One. It's primarily for BAs and super users and consultants, whereas our End User Academy is similar, but it's designed for new JD Edwards users, so a broader JDE audience. Our DAS University is our Reports Now training university that has over 150 video courses. We also provide monthly live webinars and one-on-one assistance for that reporting tool. So Julie, I believe it's time for our first poll. If you don't mind launching that. Perfect. So our first poll about are you using Oracle UPK? If you want to just take a minute to provide your answer there, and then we'll keep going.
I will close the poll soon in a few seconds. All right.
All right, it looks like the majority came in with no, but we do have some with yes, or yes, I'm looking for a replacement. Thanks for taking part in that poll. Little bit about where we're headed. I know we're all kind of dying to travel if you haven't been able to, so I apologize if this picture on the right here with the passport makes you sad, but just a little bit about where we're headed. So I want to provide a little snapshot of Oshkosh Defense as a company, and then also their process for their World to E1 upgrade. And then I'll talk a little bit about how we partnered with them to develop standards and customizations using the TTS platform. Then we'll talk a little bit about how we trained their subject matter experts, how to record topics, and then how iLearn came kind of behind them to apply training best practices and standards of all the topics to make sure they're tested and working correctly before then publishing them out to quick access to be accessed immediately by their users. And then I will show a little bit of a demonstration of using the product in JD Edwards and accessing the training and just how easy it is. A little bit about Oshkosh. The first thing people often say when you hear the word Oshkosh is it Oshkosh Bagosh, but it is not. So if you're not familiar with the Oshkosh Corporation, it's an American industrial company, and they design and manufacture specialty trucks, including military vehicles, access equipment. As you can see, they have a number of different brands under the Oshkosh Corporation. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with JLG, for instance. I see their lift trucks sometimes around town at construction sites. Hopefully you have not seen their airport products, the Pierce fire apparatuses, because that means you may have needed to get rescued at the airport, but we're certainly glad that they make those. Oshkosh Defense is a segment of the Oshkosh Corporation that we will focus on today. You can see the vehicles in the photo there that they design and manufacture. They strive to offer unparalleled commitment to those who depend on those products and services worldwide to perform their mission and return safely. So very important work that they do. And Julie, it's time for our second poll. So if you want to go ahead and launch that before we really get into the meat of what we're talking about here today. So which ERP software do you have in place? It's our next poll.
Okay, I think it's quite obvious. Nobody's voting anymore, so I will close.
Okay. All right. And again, it looks like that last category there is our winner. So with the other category, although there are some that have Oracle ERP and JD Edwards. All right. Thanks for participating, everybody. So a little bit about the discovery process with Oshkosh Defense. So originally for their World to Enterprise 1 upgrade, Oshkosh was going to use UPK, but it became clear that they were concerned about ongoing support for the tool like many organizations today, and then they were also outgrowing UPK as they have other applications they wanted to develop training for in sport, and then wanted a little bit more of a modern training experience that would work across their applications. We conducted a UPK health check with them, and we helped them with the UPK replacement selection process. So up there, I have a little snippet of the document that we use for evaluation criteria, and kind of not shown would be the check boxes for a must-have or want, but not necessarily a must-have. And this kind of helps simplify the process of selection for Oshkosh, so they could look at the tools and check the boxes, and then of course hopefully find the tool that checked the most boxes, and then they landed with the TT Performance Suite. We also partnered with Oshkosh and also part of the discovery once they selected TTS was a phased approach to the project. And I have an image of our methodology here. So the event trigger in this case was their World to E1 upgrade. And we worked with Oshkosh to design a training curriculum that addressed and identified their learners and their particular job roles. We also provided foundations and navigations material for all of their learners for the upgrade. So with those changing screens, we could roll that out to all of their learners, and they could start to access things confidently, and then from there take their specific courses for their job role. One of the other things that we did when we rolled out foundations and navigation training was just a little tutorial for all of their users, since we had them captive at that time, on how they could access training content with the quick access. So, and I will show what that looks like a little bit later on. Also, as part of the first phase of the project, we worked with Oshkosh to develop standards and customizations for all of the identified areas and topics. Some of these included, so you can kind of see a little snapshot there, customizing the intro and end slides with some of their images and colors. We also always outline the topic objectives, put the learning duration so students knew exactly what to expect. There are also things like colors and when to bold text and when to use arrows, and we documented this for them too, so that ongoing as an organization, they had those standards and their material would be consistent. The next thing we did was to work with them to provide training for their subject matter experts so that they could record processes. with the TT Performance Suite. So things like how to access the training environment, what to do when you encounter sensitive data in your recording, how they wanted to start and end each of the recordings. We also listed some recording tips and tricks, and then showed them how to add notes to the recording so that those coming behind them, which was iLearn, could incorporate those specific kinds of notes for their customized processes. So as you can see, there's some screenshots there too, which kind of show you visually exactly the kinds of screens to capture. The SMEs were pretty busy at Bumblebees there, and by the end of the project, we had over 400 topics. That was within the time span of about 2 months, so pretty busy there. Just some more things that we did to make it as easy as possible for them as they were recording their processes were that we set the library up for them, so all they had to do was go in, access the topic they wanted to work on, and open it right up, so they didn't have to build anything out. We also put a recording start placeholder for them, so they knew right where to start recording within that topic once they opened it up. Like I mentioned before, they could add notes or further information pretty easily within the topic itself, and then we had them also review completed topics for changes or additions, which I will talk about in the workflow management. It's very easy in the platform in just a bit. The iLearn team followed behind Oshkosh and applied standards and best practices to the recordings. So just imagine that my computer desk looks as pretty as in that picture, but I was on that team that actually followed behind the subject matter experts with their recordings and went through them and tested them. If for any reason they weren't recorded correctly, like the screen wasn't in full screen, or perhaps they weren't quite able to complete the process as they wanted to, we could re-record the topic because we had the steps already in the recording from them. We also tested each topic in the output mode, so I will show a sample of what those look like, but just to make sure that they looked pretty and ready to go with all of the best practices there. We also applied our J.D. Edwards expertise to the topic, so we added our own notes and things for the learners. And then we helped track the workflow and returned to the topics to under review once we were completed with them. Here's a little sample of some of the outputs there. This, of course, is not the video output that is more like a tutorial that I'll show in just a bit, but you have the fuller documentation there on the left with the full screenshots. You can see the notes come in there, the actual clicks, so they know right where to click. And then a shorter version, which is a little bit more like a quick reference card on the right there. And those generate automatically by the system, so super slick. I will show that in just a bit here. A little bit about our topic workflow. So it's very easy to work with the workflow in the TT Performance Suite. So we started everything as a work in process. Once the topic was recorded and the iLearn team came back behind to apply those standards and then also test the topic, we flipped the topic to in review, at which point the Oshkosh team was alerted that it was ready for them, and they could go over it one more time and either reject the topic and send it back for further revisions, or as happens sometimes during an upgrade, you realize a process needs to change as you work in the new system. So there were times where they did need to re-record a topic to reflect that, at which case it would go back all the way to the work in process and through the cycle again there. Or of course, many topics were just approved right away, and then one of the awesome things is that you can just publish it out right away and it's immediately available. So as we had the content ready within the system, it was immediately accessible. We didn't have to wait to, like you do with UPK sometimes, to publish things in bulk. You could just publish topics as you had them, which is also super cool and then also very helpful for their learners. All right, so I am going to show you a little bit about the system here. Oops.
April, we had one question coming in, if I may interrupt.
Sure.
The question was, how many SMEs were working on recording the topics?
That's a great question. So they had a number of areas, maybe about I'm remembering correctly, 12 to 15 different areas. So finance, for instance, distribution, things like that. And each of those sections had a couple of SMEs each, so probably about 3 to each of those areas. So I think that gets to a somewhat high total, but not super high there. I would say between 15 to 30.
Okay, thanks.
I am going to, okay, so I have the TT Performance Suite open here. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to start a new document, do a quick recording, and then how easy it is to have the outputs right away to look at and test and add notes and things like that before I turn it back over to Patrick. So I have a sample course here. I'm just going to add a new document. And I am going to call my document Create a Record. And I'm going to leave this as a work in process. There's also, this is where you would have whatever parameters that you wanted to put in, like if you wanted to release immediately or you wanted to set it to in review for someone to look at to alert them that it was ready. I'm going to just create a TT document, and then I have a template. So another nice thing is that you can have a template set up so that everybody that accesses it starts with the same beginning point. So you don't have to worry about coming in behind and editing it or having anything look different. Once you have everything done, you just select that template, easy like that, and then it opens up the topic itself. So this is just a sample preview of what you might want your first page to look like. If you imagine things that you can do in PowerPoint or similar projects, you could incorporate that here. So for this one, you can see my title was already put in there. I could add sample text like something like in this topic, you will learn how to create an address book record. I would put the learning duration. Can also put a little bit more information on this second side, and then we also have a placeholder for a summary at the end, like in this course you learned how to X. So that's very easy to add, and that populated all by itself just with the template that I have there. Just to show you how easy it is to record, I'm just going to do a quick recording in JD Edwards. It's also very easy to pause. So for instance, I open my JD Edwards and I really want it to be in the full screen. So I don't want to show my menu bar there. But, you know, so you could do that and it would just capture that there. I also want to expand the menu path so that they don't have to go through click, 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 like that. And then I want to start. So I push the unpause button. I can blow that menu path out and then go right where I want to go. And it automatically captures all of my clicks. So I don't have to worry about pushing print screen. I also see right here exactly what it's capturing as I do my entries.
And so while April is going through and doing the recording, the TTPS application is really designed to build all kinds of learning content, right? So it can be content that has nothing to do with an IT system. It could be, you know, a policy course, or it could be a new hire orientation. But when we're using it against software systems, we can record almost any Windows or web-based application. So it's not limited to JD Edwards, it's not limited to Oracle applications. It really provides value for organizations. And one of the, I think, selling points for Oshkosh Defense was that it could be used across all of the applications that they have in their enterprise, and become a consistent place to find information across that enterprise instead of each application having its own sort of help system. and having all of the different repositories of knowledge throughout the business, you have one place that people can go to get that information quickly.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm almost done here. I'm just doing a sample topic. Make sure it was created successfully. That's awesome. Then I'll close and end on this last screen. And all I do is push stop. And then it takes me automatically back. And I can review what I recorded. So it's also very easy once you have the recording done to add notes. So say in the end here, I want to say, I want to maybe insert a text box and say, make sure to verify that you created the record successfully. I can make that text box a different color if I wanted to, so that it doesn't blend in the background. Can also choose from some other text box. Let's see, what color should I make it? I don't know. I can also do any kind of custom color. We'll just do green. Can add things like drag and drop objects, highlights. Maybe I want a big arrow here saying, so they know for sure, like calling out this field here. Maybe I want a multiple choice element. There's all sorts of things. You can even create moving objects to really capture their attention. There's these pre-built text boxes that we have selected with this template here. You could also limit what their options are here too, so that everybody just chooses that blue one, for instance, so that everything's consistent. Super easy to do. Oops. Just need to move that. So before I publish it out, maybe I want to take a look and test it. So I can just push the play button right in here. And it guides me through the process, just like I would see when I was a learner. They have this little option down at the bottom. So click the address book revisions link, telling me exactly what to do as I go through it. This is a little bit about what they would see. And as you can see, there's really not a lot to edit once you do this. So it makes it very simple. I don't have to go in and add text boxes or print areas or anything because it's just captured, which is also really nice, slicker process than UPK. There's that as an example. The other thing is I can see the documentation output right when I'm in it too. I don't have to get out of the topic and go back. I can look and say, oh, maybe I want to get rid of that JD Edwards Google Chrome there because that could confuse them. They don't need to see that. I just get rid of that and it disappeared. If I had a note in, as I put in earlier, I just can make sure, look, it's right there on the documentation for them to see. It captured that. For the guide, I can also double check. I can add some more text up in the beginning that it was captured correctly. So just a little snapshot there. Now, when I go back to JD Edwards, learners will have this quick access. All they have to do is install. And then when they open it, they'll have access to whatever content that they are in. So I have some sample content that we created earlier. As they're in an application clicking around, it will pick up what is most applicable to them. Right within the application itself, they can go ahead and click on it and open up what they need to open up and review it right there very easily. Stay within the system, go back to what they're doing and complete their process. So pretty slick.
Great. Thanks,
Right.
April.
Yeah, absolutely.
Switch over and show a little bit more on the product side, if you don't mind. So hopefully, if you guys can all see my screen, okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So as April was demonstrating so very quickly and easily, it's very simple to create content and make that content available within applications. I want to show a little bit more about quick access and the quick access technology. So one of the things that we're able to do is actually provide that quick access capability across really any Windows or web-based application. So, and of course, I'm having a challenge right now because it is stuck on looking at the GoToMeeting application as opposed to my Excel. So every once in a while we do run into a challenge when we're presenting the technology through something else, but it should be showing now. So as you can see with the quick access, it knows that I'm in Excel.
Patrick, I don't know if this is true, and Julie, you can chime in, but all we see is your black screen with the in moment of need.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have it on your other monitor.
Okay, let's, sorry. Okay, there we go. That will help.
There we
All
go.
right. All right. Sorry about that. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for that, April. So being able to open quick access at any time, really within any application. So if I click on the orange and I'm in Microsoft Excel, it's going to show me all of the content that's related and available for that application, right? So I could look at a step-by-step guide of how to use a particular feature in Excel, and it's going to show me all of those steps, including little animation. So this is the part of the guide that April just built in the JD Edwards systems, which is one of the outputs that we automatically generate. And then when I don't need quick access, literally it just goes away. So at any point, I can open up something like Salesforce, for instance, and open up quick access in Salesforce, and I'm going to see content related to Salesforce. Now, one of the questions that comes up quite often is, what do I do about existing content, right? So maybe I've invested, a significant amount of time and energy in my organization in building content in different tools, right? So it might be content that sits in my SharePoint right now, or it might be UPK content that we've built over the years. And one of the things that we want to be able to do is actually, provide access to that content, even if you move into a system like ours. So I'm in the Oracle JD Edwards system. I'm pointing to my backend, which has no content. So I've got nothing here for JD Edwards. I have a choice. I can either create content just like April just did, very quickly, easily, or maybe I want to use some of the existing content that I have available to me and link that content to this application. So let me show you how quick and easy we can do that. So if I go to my TT Performance Suite, my authoring environment, and I'm going to create a new document similar to what April did, but it's going to be a little bit different. I'll just call it UPK document, and then and I'm going to release this one immediately. So I'm just going to kind of bypass my workflow. Instead of creating a new document, I'm going to upload an existing file. So one of the options that I have the ability to do is say, let me just open up this UPK package, and I'll make that available to my user community, automatically. So we're a full content management system, versioning, workflows, all of those capabilities that you would expect. So now I've got my UPK document. It's in my system, but how do I link that document to that application or to that website? Well, it's really very simple. All I do is I go back to JD Edwards, I open up my quick access, and there's a small fingerprint icon that I can use. Now, we do this automatically when you create content in our system, but in any time you can attach other content just by simply using this fingerprint icon. I'll go back to my document, I'll edit the properties, and all I do is just paste this information directly into that context field. That's all I need to do. So now when I go to my JD Edwards application and I'll open up my quick access again, instead of getting an unhappy orange that says, hey, there's no content there, I now have a UPK document. So what I'm basically able to do is to link that existing UPK content and this might look familiar if you guys have seen it before, directly to any application, any screen in the application, and make that content available to your user community. Because users don't really care what tool it was built in, they just want to get the right information at that right time. And what we provide that ability to do is to link any type of content, existing UPK, PowerPoint slides, Excel spreadsheets, really anything that you have, links to content that are already in a different repository, and make that content more usable because people don't have to spend huge amounts of time searching for that material. We have already sort of determined the relevance of that content to that user community by linking it to specific applications and then and making it available through quick access. So that's a capability that we provide today. And with that, I think I'll switch back to April, and we can finish up with the slides.
All right, well, we do have time for other questions if you want to submit any in the chat. And we do want to say thanks for joining us today. Both Patrick and I's contact information is there if you think of any questions later or want to follow up with us and anything else, or maybe we could meet with you and look at the product a little closer or answer any more specific questions that you have.
Thanks, April. We have 2 questions that came in at the end now. I think, Patrick, you've already answered that, but here it goes. Does the TT Performance Suite only work with JD Edwards, or does it also work with any other application?
Yeah, the TT Performance Suite works across any Windows or web-based application. And in addition to that, we can deploy in multiple modes. The Oshkosh JD Edwards implementation is a little unique from most of our customers today. So I would say probably 90% of our customers are selecting a SaaS implementation where they we provide a hosted, if you will, environment for them. But Oshkosh Defense, being a defense contractor, and obviously all of the security and technical requirements that come along with that, believe me, it was quite a process to get approved within that environment because of the security stipulations and the hurdles that we had to go through. But one of the primary criteria for them was the ability to deploy on-premise if needed. And that's something that we also can do. So we can actually implement behind the firewall for highly secure situations like that, or can be deployed in a cloud situation. So across any enterprise application and in multiple deployment methods as well.
Thanks, Patrick. Next question, is there a limit to the number of fingerprints that can be pasted into the context field?
I'm sure there is a limit. I'm not aware of where that limit is, but so you can use that piece of content and have multiple context IDs, I think is the question. So can I have a document and have it show up in 43 different applications? Absolutely, yes. Like I said, I'm sure there is a theoretical limit. We haven't bumped into it yet, so I'm not really sure what it is. I can ask one of our technical folks to provide an actual response on that.
Mm-hmm. Next question, do you have multiple languages you can record in? And if you record in English, can you convert? Oh, okay, let's do the first question.
Sure. So language-wise, we support up to 40 different output languages, and we can provide the exact list if anyone is interested in it. And we have, I think, 4 or 5 different authoring languages. So the author interface can change to multiple languages, but we can generate output into up to 40 different languages. We also have built-in support for translation of content through XLIF. So we can actually generate XLIF files or WordML files that you can send to translation houses. And we also have a re-record functionality, which expedites the process of converting content from one language to another. So one of the advantages, I think, of being a European company is that we understand that it's not just one language, and we have to be able to support multinationals who have employees and customers and partners who use a wide variety of languages.
Okay. So if you record in English, can you convert to another language, or does that work then with the re-recording?
Right. So you can convert to another language the text content that is created very quickly using the WordML or the XLIF files. But obviously the images that you're recording need to be converted as well. So it really depends on your deployment strategy. Some organizations go with, we're going to use English screens, for instance, globally, but the text that goes along with that might be translated into a localized language. So we can do that and support that through the XLIF translation. Other organizations want a fully localized document. So that means the images, the text, everything will be localized and translated for that local community, at which point we use the re-recording capability to expedite that and the XLIF. So that we can get you there a lot faster. We don't do it automatically. There really is no product in the world that can just automatically and accurately just translate all the information from one language to another. And if anybody tells you they can, I would trust it. But the reality is that we can get you 40 to 70% of the way toward a fully localized document, depending upon which method you're using.
Do you have a UPK converter?
We don't have a UPK converter, and there's a couple of reasons why. The primary reason is because if you look at the content that we create, the fact that we build e-learning content with simulation pages, documentation, in-application guidance, taking a raw UPK document or ODARC file and bringing it into our system is probably going to get you 30 to 40% of what we would normally need to create one of our files. So it's really limited. You would basically have to just use that as a starting point and recreate it from there. What we find though is instead of converting content, we would rather just provide the customers the ability to play that content for as long as possible. And what that does is it allows our customers to convert content at their own pace. So rather than saying, okay, I'm going to implement the TT Performance Suite, I'm switching over from UPK, and I want to do change over, I have to convert everything at once. And that's not necessarily tenable for all of our customers. They don't have the resources or the time to be able to just convert all of the content at one time. So what this says is, our approach allows you to play that existing content. So you can have, 70% of it stay in UPK and then just convert 30% into the native format of our TTPS. And then over time, as you have upgrades or changes to policies or procedures, you can then take your time and migrate that content in a planned and thoughtful fashion, as opposed to kind of having to push everything over into a new system immediately in order to make it work. And we found that that's worked quite well. I mean, City of New York, which has thousands and thousands of UPK documents, they basically did an analysis and figured out that it's really less than 10% of the content they needed to actually convert over right now. The rest of it can just be played as is, and then they've set a timetable for the next few years to migrate that content, slowly, carefully, and without having to have a major budget impact of having to bring on a whole bunch of people to clean up and edit a whole bunch of documents.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Few more questions. We're already over time, but we'll just answer these now. So the Orange or the Quick Access provides online support when the user asks for it, but is there a possibility the other way around so that you can push information to the user?
Sure. So there's actually push notifications that are built in as part of Windows 10 support. So when we want to, we can actually provide a notification to the user that there's new information in that particular area. And in addition, we have a whole learning portal that we didn't actually show you today, just for brevity's sake, but there's a full learning portal that can show you process views, that can show you information by topics or by courses. And it becomes really a primary source of learning content that can be made available for your users as well as being customized for your organization. So happy to show you, the full product in more detail if you'd like to just reach out and we can arrange a demonstration.
Two more questions. Is it possible to add multimedia to the lesson, for example, videos?
Yes, so we support audio, video, animations. We also support text-to-speach to make it highly interactive. So all of those are able to be included into the learning output.
Okay, and the final question, do you have assessments where you can track a learner's progress?
Yes, so we support working with LMSs. Well, we're not an LMS, so we can package our courses with assessment information as SCORM or AICC and support any of the 447 LMSs in the world. We just don't want to be 448, right? So we find every organization we work with already has one, in some cases 2 or 3 LMSs. So adding yet another LMS is not something that makes sense, but we do support and can integrate with any of the LMSs that are out there.
Great, thanks, Patrick, and thank you, April. I think we are at the end now of the session. As I said in my intro, we will send you the recording. So you will receive that within the next couple of days. And I'm wishing you a good evening, or for those in the US, a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much.